Socrates once advised. By all means, marry. If you get a good wife, you'll be happy. If you get a bad one, you'll become a philosopher. But what happens when that man is the President of the United States? Are their love lives just like ours, normal and ordinary? Or are they epic fairy tales? Americans love to view the White House as a romantic movie set. But I am German. I don't look for romance. I look for risk. Today, we put the romantic history of 17 US presidents under the ruthless scrutiny of a German mindset. Let's open the files. Let us start with efficiency. George Washington was once in love with his neighbor's wife, Sally Fairfax. He flirted and wrote letters. But when it came time to marry, he made a very German, practical decision. He married Martha Custis, a wealthy widow. Was it true love? Probably. Was it also a calculated, brilliant real estate and financial merger that secured his social logistics? Absolutely. They had a rock-solid, 40-year marriage built on mutual respect and stability. Then you have John and Abigail Adams. If you want a perfect organizational partnership, this is it. They exchanged over 1,000 letters. She was not just a wife, she was his primary political advisor and intelligence gatherer. They had no scandals, just pure teamwork. It was a flawless geopolitical joint venture. Speaking of teamwork, James K. Polk and his wife Sarah were the ultimate corporate couple. They had no children. Instead, Sarah served as his personal secretary, speechwriter, and political strategist. They treated the presidency like a family business, eliminating all outside distractions. As a German, I deeply respect this level of ruthless operational focus. But we must admit, true, unconditional loyalty does exist in the political machine. Look at Ulysses S. Grant. The hardened, battle-tested general of the Civil War was completely devoted to his wife, Julia. She even followed him to active military camps, which was highly unusual and dangerous. Or consider Chester A. Arthur. His wife Ellen passed away before he became president. Every single day of his presidency, he placed fresh flowers in front of her portrait. He even donated a stained glass window to a nearby church just so he could see it glowing from the White House at night. That is genuine, mathematically unshakable loyalty. However, love can also bring immense chaos, which directly affects a leader's psychological ability to govern. Take Theodore Roosevelt. On Valentine's Day in 1884, his mother and his wife passed away in the exact same house, just hours apart. He was completely shattered. To cope, he abandoned high society and went to the Dakota Badlands to push his physical body to the absolute limit. He survived, but you have to wonder how that level of profound, unprocessed trauma permanently alters a leader's geopolitical mindset. Abraham Lincoln also faced an impossible operational situation. He led the country through the most devastating conflict in its history, while his marriage to Mary Todd was famously turbulent. When their young son Willie passed away in the White House, Mary spiraled into deep, clinical emotional instability. Lincoln was essentially fighting a brutal two-front war, one against the Confederacy, and one against the psychological collapse of his own household. But no one weaponized their grief quite like Andrew Jackson. His opponents mocked his wife, Rachel, calling her a bigamist because of a clerical error in her previous divorce. When she suffered a fatal cardiac event right before he took office, Jackson blamed his political enemies. He spent his entire presidency carrying that anger. If you insulted Jackson's wife, it was a fatal mistake. He proved that a commander-in-chief fueled by personal vengeance is a highly unpredictable and dangerous variable. Now, let's talk about some relationships that are simply logistical and public relations nightmares. John Tyler holds the record for the most children of any president, 15 in total. His first wife passed away, and at age 54, he married a 24-year-old. From a time management perspective, producing and raising 15 heirs while acting as the chief executive is an absurd misallocation of presidential resources. I do not understand how he found the time to sign a single piece of legislation. Then there is Grover Cleveland. During his campaign, the public found out he fathered an undisclosed child. His opponents relentlessly mocked him. But Cleveland executed what we now call modern crisis management. He told his team to tell the absolute truth. He admitted the data, owned the mistake, and he still won. Later, at age 49, he married a 21-year-old woman whom he had known since she was an infant. In modern times, this dynamic would destroy a political career instantly. Back then, it was just another day in Washington. Woodrow Wilson also created a catastrophic public relations disaster. His first wife passed away, and just 7 months later, he married another woman. Moving that fast while holding public office immediately started wild, conspiratorial rumors. In politics, optics are everything, and Wilson's timing was a massive failure in strategic communication. And this brings us to the ultimate modern spectacle, Donald Trump. With 3 marriages and highly public, complex divorces, his romantic history is a pure media phenomenon. His transition from his first wife, Ivana, to Marla Maples was an unadulterated media circus long before reality television even existed. And today, his dynamic with Melania is dissected by the global press on a daily basis. From a German analytical perspective, treating marriages like aggressive corporate acquisitions and weaponizing them for public attention is a massive vulnerability. It transforms the private household into a constant, loud media war zone, completely erasing the line between executive leadership and reality entertainment. Finally, we must discuss the men who completely failed the clinical test of impulse control. Let us address Thomas Jefferson. Many Americans tried to defend his relationship with Sally Hemings by saying, "It was normal for the times." But let us look at the facts objectively. Jefferson was a highly educated grown man who wrote the Declaration of Independence. Sally Hemings was a young teenager who was his legal property. You cannot call it a romance when one person owns the other. It is a massive, systemic power imbalance. You cannot have emotional consent when the legal framework classifies you as inventory. But the modern era brought a different kind of problem, the risk addicts. Warren G. Harding lived a complete double life. He had a 15-year affair with his friend's wife, wrote over 1,000 pages of compromising letters, and his political party had to arrange a quiet, confidential financial settlement of $20,000. A massive security risk. Franklin D. Roosevelt married Eleanor, but when she found love letters from his secretary, Lucy Mercer, she demanded a divorce. FDR only stayed married because his mother threatened to cut off his funding, and his advisors said a divorce would ruin his corporate brand. Their marriage became an armed truce, pure political pragmatism. He stayed for the power, and he secretly kept seeing his mistress anyway. And then, of course, you have John F. Kennedy and Bill Clinton. Kennedy was involved with Marilyn Monroe and White House interns. Clinton engaged in inappropriate behavior inside the Oval Office itself. The American public is always shocked by this. But from a behavioral standpoint, it makes perfect sense. When your daily routine involves holding the power to permanently alter global history with a single command, normal thrills no longer register. The dopamine baseline becomes dangerously warped. To be president, you must have a massive ego. Normal rules do not feel like they apply to you. But here is the German perspective. If you are the leader of the free world, and you are willing to risk your entire presidency, your historical legacy, and the stability of your government just for fleeting personal gratification, you have a severe, terrifying failure in risk management. The Oval Office is the ultimate amplifier of human character. So, to answer our first question, are presidential marriages just like ours? Absolutely not. They are not normal, and they are rarely fairy tales. Some use their partnerships as brilliant geopolitical shields, while others risk the free world for a reckless impulse. So, here is the ultimate behavioral question for you. Does personal morality dictate public performance? If a man can seamlessly lie to his own wife, will he eventually lie to his country? Drop your verdict below, verify the data with a like, and subscribe. I'll see you in the next video.